The firehouse I want to show you is just behind the water tower. That area was swept by the fire, but the tower stayed. And here's the building, built in 1904. I stopped by for a meal. Some of the guys were running around the building. We were just beginning to gather for lunch. Most interesting place. They made a beautiful submarine sandwich for lunch that day, and we were about to eat. This is Captain Enright, whose job it is to keep communication open for the building.
At 202 East Chicago Avenue. That's 202 East Chicago Avenue, a fire in the basement.
98, 202 East Chicago Avenue, fire in the basement. 202 East Chicago.
Well, that was the end of lunch. I didn't even know what to do. These guys start running. Their lunch is still on the table. They begin gathering. This fellow that's coming down the pole now is Mr. James Statz, who had made the sandwiches. And they're on their way. They don't know where they're going yet. Not a thing. If this looks slow to you, please understand that Engine Company 98 is typical of the one in your town. It takes them 30 seconds from the time the bell is rung to get out of that building
202 East Chicago
and
Avenue,
on their way to keep you out of trouble.
Fire in the basement.
Now remember this, it has been 30 seconds since the time the bell went off to the time this guy hits the roof. And there they go. And with them, I'm afraid, went lunch. Can you imagine cooking for your compatriots, for your friends, your companions? The term companion in Latin means the one with whom you break bread. Remember that, compana? Well, anyhow, can you imagine cooking for these fellows and women? There's some women firefighters, too, of course. Imagine cooking for them and then have them run off. That's the biggest problem they have in cooking. You've got to make dishes that will hold up in case the big alarm goes off. So we had a cooking contest. I wrote to departments all over the country. As a matter of fact, we had responses from New York, Chicago, Seattle, New Orleans, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Philadelphia. I had a stack of chili recipes this thick, because chili is one of the things you can make for your compatriots, your friends, that will hold up, you see. I had some wonderful names. 19 alarm chili. You know, nobody has 19 alarms. That would mean the whole country responds to a fire. Or 1075. That means, again, everybody's there, or all hands. Wonderful chili recipes. I must tell you one more thing. The captain that you saw on that tape, Captain Enright, is with the captain of Engine Company 98, and his father, 30 years ago, was a captain in that very same building. There's a very interesting sense of pride among firemen, and there's an interesting sense of pride in their cooking. So, the first recipe that gets an honorable mention from our big-time cooking contest comes to us from Lieutenant Harry Parachan from San Francisco. And he has something he calls a fritorta, which is a weird name. A frittata, you remember, is a baked omelet, and a torta is a cake, so he calls it a fritorta. Weird name, but it's a delicious dish. What we want to do is put together the following items. I've cooked 1 cup of long grain rice in broth. Whoops, I've got the wrong pot here. Where's my 1 cup? Here it is. 1 cup of rice, 1 cup of chicken broth, and 1 cup of water. Nothing to it. Cook that. I've just let mine cool for a minute so I can get my hands in here. You know me and my hands. Now this dish has to set for a while, you see, in case the alarm goes off. So that's the point of our cooking today. The rice is already cooked. And now to that, we're going to add the following. I want 1 cube of melted butter. Got that? 1 cube, or one of my cooks was chiding me, it's a stick. All right, calm down, so it's 1 stick of butter. I'm also going to add 1 cup of salami, and this is hard salami, chopped up, you see. This is his recipe. It's going to serve a lot of people, so don't worry about the fat content yet. And we want 1 pound of cottage cheese. I'm using small curd. That was the lieutenant's recommendation. He's in San Francisco, so you understand the Italian influence that is in this dish. And then we want, I never use instant mixes, I know. But he does in this case, and remember, it's hard cooking in a firehouse. So I'm going to allow this and just go right ahead. I'm using 1 package of Knorr's leek soup mix, you see. No water, just throw it in there. All righty? Now, we're going to stir that up and add to that 1 teaspoon of each of the following. More instant foods. Ooh, Lord, you think you're on the wrong channel, don't you? But this is just a great dish. I want 1 teaspoon of onion salt. All right? And 1 teaspoon of garlic salt. There we go. And some black pepper. I'm going to grind my own, of course. Got you on that one, Lieutenant. I bet in a firehouse you don't have time to stand on and grind your peppers. Okay. Now, we'll add to that now some spinach, and I've used one package. He suggests one package of chopped spinach, and he squeezed it dry. So let it melt and squeeze it dry so it isn't all wet and gooey. And now we're going to stir that up and add 9 eggs, already beaten. 9 beaten eggs. You're thinking, good Lord, Smith, what are you baking? Well, I'm serving a lot of firemen, and this is a great dish. 9 beaten eggs. There we go. And we're ready now. Got the spinach, the eggs, the salami, the rice, and we're ready to put that in our baking dish. Now, on the bottom of the baking dish, he puts, and I'm using a, what is that, about 15, 16 inches by about 10, something like that, 2 inches deep. I'm going to put some cheese on the bottom. He says about 1/4 of a cup of freshly grated Parmesan or Romano on the bottom of the pan. Then you put the mixture in. Isn't this wild? Look at this. No, his recipe is even bigger than this. He makes this stuff by the truckload. You know, there's 6, 7 guys on an engine truck, an engine company. I'm trying to learn all this. There are truck and ladders, and there are engine companies, and then there are battalions. We're talking a lot of fellows that keep us out of trouble. I'm always terribly impressed and terribly happy when the firemen respond. You know, they always come to your help without being arrogant about it, you know. They're always nice about it, and I appreciate that. Okay, now he pours 3 more eggs over the top. Now you know why he calls it a frittata. It's like a cake, but it's baked with eggs like a frittata. And on the top of that, he puts another 1/4 cup of Parmesan or Romano cheese. And then he bakes this at about 325. I have one in the oven already. As a matter of fact, I've just taken it out. Bakes this at 325 for about 35, 45 minutes. Let me give you that exactly. 35 to 40, the lieutenant says. And here's the dish. This is absolutely lovely. Let me show you what happens. You see, when you cut this, it cuts like a cake, but it's really a baked omelet. So it's a very delicious, oh, come out of there. There we are. It's really a very delicious meal, you see? Now, why is this a special in firehouse cooking? Because he says, the lieutenant says, that you should cook this the day ahead and then warm it up. It's much better that way. Get the point in firehouse cooking? You've got to be ready, because when that alarm goes off, you're dead in the water. All right, here's another quickie. A kind of a funny name on this one. This one comes, find his name here. Here it is. This one comes from Bill Galvin, Officer Galvin, in Philadelphia. And he has a dish he calls rice with burned almonds. Why would a fireman develop such a thing? Can you imagine? Rice with burned almonds. So I have a couple cups of cooked rice. That is, say, 1 cup uncooked and 2 cups cooked. And he adds to that some slivered almonds that he's cooked a bit in butter. 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter. You see, and I've browned them. He calls them burned. I tried them with blackened almonds. And you know what it tasted like? Like blackened almonds. Ugh. So I think what he really means is toasted dark. And that's it. Perhaps a pinch of salt, and toss this. It makes a wonderful dinner dish. Just wonderful. Put that out for us, and we have some. I think I put some salt in this for you too, because there wasn't any salt in the rice. Okay, there we go. Burned almonds. One wonderful name for a firehouse dish. Let me serve that for you. Notice that the rice holds up very well in this kind of cooking. So already I have 2 rice dishes. You see? Now, the next one, there we go. The next one comes from the South. The guys, honest to Pete, you go down to New Orleans, you eat well everywhere, and I bet they eat great in the firehouses too. So I have a dish for you. See, what is his name here? Here it is. His name is Gale. Let me get the rice out first. His name is Gale Rogers, and he's in New Orleans at the firehouse there. And here's a wonderful dish that he calls a chicken, and I'm not going to have time to make this for you. A chicken and sausage gumbo. Can you imagine? Oh, this is good. With sausages and peppers, chicken, that pot's heavy. This thickens up beautifully. And of course, if you have to run off to a fire, Who cares? You come back, turn it on, heat it up again. It's even better the second time around than it is the first time around.